Hi, this is Dominic Keating. I played Lieutenant Malcolm Reed on Enterprise, as you probably know, and you are listening to the NX 7062 podcast. Enjoy.
And welcome to the NX 7062 podcast. It is Monday. We are here having some fun in Jersey, trying to adjust to daylight savings time. And I know that there are 112 reasons why people hate daylight savings time. You lose the hour. I mean, listen, I had to get up extra early yesterday morning. I had a ton of stuff to do. Hey, Robert. I had so much to do. And I usually don't get up that early, especially on a weekend, but I was up at 7 a.m. and I was go all day. I ended up finding time to take a nap. So I know how bad, hey, Blue, I know how bad, daylight saving times affects people, and it's a real thing. Like, there's physical effects, and I get that, but I get that extra hour of daylight, and that just means so much to this little heart. I live for December 21st and the winter solstice, when we start getting that one, when the shortest day of the year has come and gone. Makes me so happy. Hello, Magic Lasso. Oh, look at this. Lasso, you have not hashtag Foo is a furry in a while. And so we had to throw that up there. Hi, Comic Foo. If you happen to tune in at some point, just had to share that with you. Yes, Melissa will be here momentarily. I had her, and she was in what we call the green room, which is kind of, this off camera, and she just disappeared. So hopefully she's doing whatever she's doing. Hopefully Mochi didn't completely knock her offline, because we need her to talk about virtual TrekCon and all those goings on. Yeah, see, Lasso, there she is. Lasso and I agree. I love the time change. I love when it's light. She's back. Oh, she changed her background. All right. Now, normally, y'all know when I have guests on, I usually do all of my prelim chit chat prior, but to having them on. But since we all love Melissa, and since she has seen Picard and Discovery, I am going to drag her in here so we can talk about Picard and Discovery together, assuming she doesn't disappear on me again. Here she is, the amazing Malissa Longo.
Sorry, it had me sign in, and then I didn't know that it was going to kick me out when I signed in, so that I could load in this beautiful background.
Yay! That's okay.
Virtual TrekCon.
Virtual TrekCon, which is the main topic of tonight's show, because it's starting. It is now encompassing two very important days. It's got St. Patrick's Day on the 17th, and then even more importantly, Connor Trinneer's birthday on the 19th.
So, oh.
Yeah.
Hi, Robert.
There we go.
Hi, Magic. Hi, Sweetie and Blue.
Everybody was saying hi while you were gone. They're all like, and I'm like, she'll be here, assuming she logs back in. So we both seen Disco.
Mm-hmm.
I was on the edge of my seat for pretty much the entire episode. Hey, Faith.
Hi, Faith.
And Faith and Connor have the same birthday.
Happy Monday and happy birthday on the 19th.
But I feel like the one thing I was going to compare this to, and I don't know, Melissa, the third season of Enterprise was the same thing. It had like that continuing story arc with the Xindi. Mm-hmm. And it's the same kind of thing. The whole thing about the arcs is that it takes you through the season and you're just kind of going along, but then when you get to the end of the season, it's all about the adrenaline spikes, because this is what you've been waiting for.
Mm-hmm.
Obviously, the difference being is that Enterprise did it for like 20 plus episodes. Discovery didn't have that long, so we didn't have that long to wait. But it was just on the edge of my seat. There was so much building up and so much tension, and I was so glad, I think, that they were able to communicate. I loved watching them put all those pieces together.
I love it when they explore non-humanoid culture and how they communicate, and it kind of reminds me of elephants or dolphins, and in the way they communicate and are highly intelligent, but have their own, set of
Right.
way of speaking and
Yeah,
to
and
each
you have
other.
to and you have to have patience, and you have to sit down, and obviously it showed the intelligence that it's like, this is how we communicate, and now here's the code for you guys to figure it out.
Exactly. Yeah. Talk
It's like
about giving it out an olive branch and in such a neat way with
yes, and showing that even though this communication is unique, just the shared values of, we hurt you and we're sad because we didn't realize that we were hurting you. And
Yeah.
it's all boiled down to just this very simple narrative. Like, you don't need a lot of words sometimes to just convey these emotions. And I thought, Saru and the president are so cute together.
Oh my gosh, yes, I love those two.
And
Yeah, and
Michael's like,
Saru.
Michael's going, I'll be your Vulcan decoder.
Yeah. Yay. Hi, Mohammed.
Thank you for the tweet. Hello, Warlord. And yay, Discovery Communication. Yeah, Mohammed, who was initially invited, not that you were ever second best, but I had mentioned last week that maybe Mohammed would have wanted to come on the show. Because it was just post-cruise. But
right.
He contacted me after the show and politely declined. And I was like, fine, I'll just go find somebody else.
So I am second fiddle.
You are never second fiddle.
Although Mohammed's great.
We love Mohammed, and he'll come on. But you know what? The fact he didn't go to the Enterprise panel on the cruise, so I'm just not sure how much I want to have him on anyway. Exactly. She is awesome in every show, and yeah, it's just Mohammed embarrassed me. I invited him, and then he turns around, and the minute the show's over, he's like, "Nope, can't make it." I'm like, whatever. See, everybody loves you, Melissa. But the other thing I love, every time Jet Reno's on the screen is just
oh my gosh, I love Jet Reno. Love Jet Reno.
Yeah, no, Jet's amazing.
Yes.
Oh wait, Mohammed is a lame butt.
No, you're not. No, you're not.
Oh, thanks, Cerulean. Yes, peaceful, carefree nonsense and lots of Enterprise talk, but that's coming up later.
Yeah.
I actually did put in a request with Ryan for the Lappy Awards for next year. I said there has to be an Enterprise only category because they just did not get a lot of love this year.
Yeah, it's disappointing that they weren't in more. They didn't get, nominated for more.
Yeah,
they were included. They were included.
They were absolutely included in the categories, but they didn't get enough votes to bump them up to the actual awards. So, but the whole thing with what's his name, Tarka. We all knew that was coming. And even though Jet's the one that figured it out, that kind of grief kind of blinds you to everything else, and you get very, this isn't the first. And I've got. Don't you hate it when you have like vague memories of things from like TV or books or whatever, and they're like floating around here, but you can't pinpoint it? Because I know that this kind of, grief that blinds you to just doing what you want to do so that you can be happy. It's a trope. It's been used, but that doesn't make it any more valid because this one's interesting.
Oh, because it happens to people.
Exactly.
Often.
Yeah. It's a matter.
You get stuck in the grief and the victimhood and all of that stuff, and it's difficult to break out of that, especially if you don't have anyone there to help you heal through the grief.
Right. So, like Jet was all by herself on the planet, and trying to so she didn't have anybody to put a hand on her shoulder and say, stop, you're not doing anybody any favors by prolonging this person's suffering.
Yeah. Well, and I loved hearing her story too, because it felt like an appropriate time for her to tell this story.
Yes.
And it felt like the appropriate person to tell this story to.
Yes, because they can share that.
Right. And I believed her. I believed her.
Yeah, no, and as far as Tarka goes, there was another shoe. I always knew that there was another shoe.
Another, well, yeah.
Exactly. Oh, Blue, we're so sorry. I never trusted Tarka. I don't know about you, Melissa. I just knew I was waiting for another shoe.
I never trusted him.
In the very beginning, but as time went on, my eyebrow kept going up, and the big reveal was coming, and
I had a little bit of shade for Tarka in the beginning. I was like, this guy's gotta be it.
But I wanted to like him because he's charismatic, just like Blue said. He's charismatic.
Sure,
so I wanted to like him, but it just didn't get. It just didn't get there. Like I said,
but sometimes the people who are dripping with the most charisma are the ones that you got to watch out for.
Absolutely. So. I think, I know I've experienced that in reality, in my own personal life, and I'm sure a lot of people out there have too. But yeah, a lot of times it is because the charisma is hiding something. They're overcompensating and they're hiding something. And
it's a mask.
Yeah, exactly. And I mean, Book was just drawn in. They shared a mutual loss. So Tarka just glommed onto the one guy that he knew was grieving along, with him.
Yeah.
So Book was an easy mark, but
it's like that the whole Scientology thing, and I apologize if anyone's a Scientologist, but I got approached by some Scientologists in the subway in New York, and they gave me this checklist of all of these lists of things. Have you experienced this? Have you experienced this? And it covers the gamut. So of course everyone has experienced at least one of those things on the list. So it's just a target for targeting where people are the most vulnerable, and Tarka knew where
he knew exactly what he was doing.
Vulnerable.
Yeah, and then Book played into, God, I always mispronounce her name, the general. He played into the general's fears. Like Tarka got Book, and then Book got the general because the general had the fear for her planet, which is another, it's just another emotion that's very easily, manipulated. But at least Book snapped out. Book snapped out of it. Whether or not it's too late, I guess we'll all find out.
Well, I thought the general would have snapped out of it when she actually saw that the communication was working. And I was like, wait, she's still going to go through with it, even though they now have open lines of communication with 10C?
Yeah, I think was like, it was, I just think because she's watching the clock wind down.
I get that.
And the doctor was all like, oh, well, this can take time. And the minute you say something's going to take time, and you're thinking,
but who better to help stop or delay the clock of destruction than the people who are responsible for it? Inadvertently. So
it's gonna be interesting. It's gonna be very interesting. I like the licorice trick too.
I love licorice too.
It's like, I'm hungry, feed me licorice, and you're thinking licorice of all things. Like, why?
I love licorice.
I know, but she had a reason. She's like, I can use this to communicate. It wasn't just
but because she's uber smart.
Well, yeah, she's awesome, but it's just like, because she's like, it was just a weird thing. Like, if I'm really hungry and you haven't fed me in hours and hours and hours, I just think licorice just wouldn't be the thing I would ask for. So I knew that I was hoping that there was something up with the licorice, and it wasn't just, I'm a candy addict.
But we've seen in the past that licorice is her thing.
Oh, see, I forgot that. I did forget that. But maybe that's why licorice is her thing, because she can MacGyver shit with licorice. Okay, so moving on to Picard, which you and I both saw during the virtual premiere.
So great.
Oh,
Yeah.
hold on. So where Ant-Man who became Giant Man. Oh, wait. Lasso. In Civil War, Ant-Man who became Giant Man wanted orange slices after he got defeated. That's
Comfort
very.
food.
See, there you go. There you go. Thanks, Lasso. But we both saw it during the virtual premiere, so we got to see it an extra week early. I had to go back and watch. I just wanted to watch the beginning with
Yeah.
Q because I missed it because Lambda Quadrant, we were all having like a side chat and I got completely distracted. And I got distracted at the most important part, which is where Q's walking into the trophy room and he says, "We're walking through a mirror darkly." Now, technically, the title of the Enterprise episode is In a Mirror Darkly, but that wouldn't have fit because he was walking through a door. So between making what is absolutely, I will say, was an Enterprise reference, and then him saying yesterday's Enterprise earlier in that scene, I feel like they were setting us up to think that Picard was in an alternate universe, when really we all get to find out together that it was our universe that has been altered. And
Yes.
see, dun,
Yes.
dun, dun.
The whole butterfly effect thing.
Yes, I mean,
you
I was
change
thinking
one thing and it alters the entire course of history.
Well, yeah, absolutely. We're going to jump back real quick. The general was absolutely wanted to get involved with stopping the DMA, but again, that opportunity, that was all driven by fear.
Yeah.
Like and not being heard. The general wasn't being heard. The general was scared, and Book was able to play into that. Let's see. Mohammed, totally agree about Mirror Darkly. Yay, Enterprise love. Exactly. 2 episodes into the second season of Picard, and we get a little Enterprise. Plus the fact, I'm sorry, but In a Mirror Darkly is absolutely 100% one of my favorite episodes. Even though at one point, the minute that Major Reed put on that damn red shirt, I knew he was not going to make it to the end of that episode. But it's still one of my favorites. But yeah, this whole I want more backstory on like how did Annika not end up getting assimilated by the Borg in this reality? Like,
well, I think because humans have pretty much decimated all other and conquered, I should say, conquered all other species in the quadrant. I mean, they've conquered Klingons, they've conquered Cardassians.
My God.
Yeah. So you know, they are the conquerors, and something
totally agreed. They were
that
freaky.
shifted the moral compass of the human species.
I mean, obviously the Borg were still out there. So yeah, it's going to be. I want to see if we get any backstory about how. I mean, obviously they're going back to 2024 to try and fix this. So I'm just wondering if there's going to be any sort of. We get to see any of their timeline, like Picard, like what happened, like why did Picard become the general? You know, that kind of stuff. Like,
well, yeah. I mean, I think that there's a lot of, you know, it's a great, they're playing with a gray area as far as nature versus nurture, because I think there's some inherent, you know, natural instincts in each of us that make us who we are. So what is it that made Picard jump ship so far from what we know him to be and what his moral compass is? So it has to be something where human society, still as smart as they have always been,
obviously, yeah, they got there, but it's like, what kind of, it's like, what is such a big pivotal act in 2024 that completely like skewed the trajectory of the human race? And you know, there's been a bunch of posts that I've seen where Q is actually trying to help Picard.
Well, yeah, and this is seems likely the Bajoran wormhole wouldn't exist in this reality, or they wouldn't have discovered it. So I don't think the Dominion War happened in this reality, which is why we have General Sisko, who would have stayed with the Confederation instead of going out to help Bajor, who had been conquered.
The Borg way of thinking, making the galaxy a human galaxy. Which is also kind of where the Terran Empire, I mean, that's very mirror universe too. The whole thing with the Terran Empire, and I mean, they hinted at, they even hinted at it. I'll go back to Enterprise. They hinted at it in Enterprise with Terra Prime. I mean, there were always, even in the good days, even, when things were looking good, there was still like a whole sect of humanity that wanted it to be humans first.
Well, yes, and we see that today.
Exactly.
In this day and age.
Exactly. So what flipped the script that made them the majority as opposed to the minority?
Well, and it's all about survival, isn't it? It's what's going to reward you for certain behavior. If you're getting rewarded for terrible behavior, and this is all that you see, of course this is going to get compounded on top of each other.
Yeah. All right. I love how he's making this all about Deep Space Nine. Prophets wouldn't have used Cisco as emissary. Wormhole may not even be there. We don't know, and it's gonna be interesting to see. Like I said, I mean, it looks like most of this is going to be in the past, so it's going to be interesting to see if we find out anything about the actual present that they left. Like,
well, I think that a lot of it would still kind of be similar to, but it depends on when humans conquered all the other species,
right?
Because that would have changed the dominion, the occupation of Bajor by Cardassia, and if they were fighting for their own freedom.
DS9 is life.
Yes, DS9 is life.
After Enterprise. Just remember what DS9 is life after Enterprise.
No comment.
Yeah. Did anybody notice that Brent Spiner was in this second episode for a half a second when he introduced Picard at that ceremony? There was a song. There was a real quick. The person that introduced him was a song. It said it.
Oh.
Yeah. So Brent was in it for like this much, playing a song.
Interesting.
Yep. So there were references all over the place. Yeah. It was. He introduced him at the thing when he brought General Picard out on stage. But I'm really excited to see where this is going.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah,
because that would have altered First Contact too.
Yeah.
So,
I would love it if they got James Cromwell somehow in this. I loved him as Zephram Cochrane.
Yeah.
I loved him as Zephram. Speaking of Enterprise, I just found out there's a chiller convention that happens in Jersey twice a year, and the next one's at the end of April, and Peter Weller is going to be there.
Nice.
And they actually put Star Trek Enterprise in the list of like, he's done RoboCop, he's done it.
I was going to say, it's RoboCop. It's RoboCop.
I mean, all my Land of the Lost buddies are going to be there, so I'm at least going to go for one day, if not the entire weekend. And Peter Weller, Mickey Dolenz is going to be there. I've met him before, but I wouldn't mind talking to him again because I love the monkeys.
Right, Robert. Except for they fought to keep it the same, so as so that Starfleet could, because their presence would have altered the timeline for.
So somebody altered the alteration of the alter. I don't know.
Well, Cisco and Bashir fixed it. Because,
that's the thing. Maybe maybe they went back and fixed it, and somebody unfixed their fix.
Well, yeah, which might be why they're in 2024.
That's right, Lasso. Facts of Life are going to be there. I know he's waiting for Kim Fields. We're hoping Kim Fields ends up at Chiller, because I think that's like the last autograph he needs from the Facts of Life crew. Yeah. Mindy Cohen and Lisa Whelchel have already been. I mean, Chiller is just it's Chiller, and their entire website is all horror and freaky, but it's their events are always a mix of pop culture and horror. So speaking of horror, the one thing that freaked me out about those skulls, the Ferengi, the bones on the Ferengi.
Good.
It looked like they break. It's like, how do those frail little bones hold up all that here?
Well, you never know. Bones are sturdy stuff. Bones and cartilage.
Yeah, that's true. On the bright side, Trip Tucker never got blown up. I will take that any day. Speaking of which, I don't know. I know some of you out there have read the Enterprise novels. I just started reading The Good That Men Do. I'm reading these completely out of order. I've already read ones that are further down that series. But, and Melissa and I talked about this, and I'm glad you're here because I can tell you, Jake and Nog, they're actually dropping Jake and Nog chapters in between the flashback chapters.
That's awesome.
So it's like I'll read a couple chapters that'll be Enterprise timeline, and then it'll jump me ahead to Louisiana where Jake and Nog are hanging out at Jake's house because they're investigating. This is the one where we find out what happens to Trip Tucker, like why in the novels he lived when in the series he died. It's so amazingly cool.
I have a question.
Okay.
Because I only watched Enterprise once, so I don't remember all of it. But
Okay.
Trip died in the very last episode, right?
He died in the very last episode, but the thing is the whole last episode was basically Riker hanging out on the holodeck.
Yeah, so I don't count that one as the last episode.
No, I don't either. I've said this so many times before. When I had Heroes and Icons as a channel, and at midnight, 6 nights a week, they ran Enterprise. So I would always fall asleep to Enterprise. But after it got done with Demons and Terror Prime, then the next episode was These Are the Voyages. I would never watch it. I'd skip that night and go back and start with Broken Bow because I'm like, I can't watch it. But this novel, the novel is basically explaining the difference between the popular recorded history and what looks like it's going to be the actual history. So this is literally explaining what really happened on the Enterprise when Riker's holo said Trip died. So it's really good.
Yeah, I mean, and that's kind of like the game of telephone, isn't it? Where some of the
exactly.
But when I did watch it, that very last episode, I was like, no, no. The second to the last episode was the last episode for me.
Everybody denies Trip is dead. Everybody absolutely. Connor just kind of shrugs his shoulder at it, but I'm sure if somebody said, hey, do you want to come back and reprise your role? I don't think he'd say no either. So.
Yeah.
Consider the finale as actually an addendum in TNG episode about. There you go.
Well, and then if they can bring Shax back after being blown up.
Yeah, exactly.
They can bring anybody back after being blown up. So
yeah, and I mean the novels cover it perfectly because the novels talk about how Section 31 got involved. So, and I'm a big fan of Section 31. I loved Eric Pierpoint playing Harris, the Section 31 guy, in 4 episodes of Enterprise. So yeah, so I'm all about that. Okay. So we've been doing this for half an hour. We still have to talk about Shuttlepod, and then eventually we are going to get to Virtual TrekCon, I promise. Promise. But I did say that it was a very full data pad tonight, so.
Yeah.
Yeah, exactly. I actually have a Section 31. I have one of those magnetic Section 31 badges. Love it.
Sloan is awesome.
That whole DS9 thing again. Harris. Predates Sloan. Harris. I just love, and I also happen to personally love Eric Pierpoint, so that again, totally
he's awesome.
Unbiased. Totally unbiased.
He's awesome, but
so Shuttlepod Show, which I know Melissa hasn't watched, but she should. You should be liking and subscribing over at Shuttlepod Show on YouTube.
Yes,
because
there's a lot going on right now. So
I know. Well, like it. I don't care if you. You don't have to watch it, but you can at least like and subscribe it.
Oh, okay.
No, it's great. I actually saw Jeff yesterday. Jeff Combs was actually at a convention here in New Jersey. So I stopped by and said hi, and we chatted. And I said, hey, I'm going to go home and watch you on Shuttlepod Show. And he talked about how he had such an amazing time doing the show. He loves the guys. They love him. I mean, it's just basically a love fest because they invite all these amazing people that they've worked with onto the show to talk. So let's see. The production of Shuttlepod Show is amazing. It is. It's really good. Cool. It's getting better every time. Like they've gotten around now. They actually, when you write into them and you ask your questions, they will give a shout out to whoever asked the question, which was missing up
that's
until now.
awesome.
So I thought that was really nice because whenever I do it, like whenever I take somebody's questions to STLV or whatever, I always try to make sure that I give credit where credit is due. They have this amazing fan art contest. It's not even a contest. You get to submit your fan art, and then they actually showed their first fan art, which was an amazing drawing of Shran in honor of Jeff being on the show. It's entirely possible. They do know that this podcast exists, so it is entirely possible. No, but they're awesome. The guys are just so funny that you can tell that they're really enjoying putting that shoe on the other foot and interviewing people instead of being the interviewers. I will do one correction. And Dominic even admitted they were trying to talk about the episode of Enterprise where Jeff Combs played a Ferengi. And Dominic got the title wrong, but he admitted he watched it, but he didn't memorize the title. And the title of the Ferengi episode of Enterprise, in which Jeff Combs played the Ferengi named Krem, was Acquisition. And what I always loved about Acquisition is that Acquisition had Ethan Phillips, and Jeff Combs, and Clint Howard. It had, and then the next episode was Oasis, which is the one with Renee Auberjonois. So I thought that was cute. They clustered their little Star Trek alum episodes together, and I always thought, let's see, William Sadler was great. I never saw Roswell.
I never remember the episode titles. Rarely remember episode titles.
Jeff Combs is an amazing human being. I love him so much. And I was telling Melissa before this all started, I've seen Jeff in Vegas, and then I saw him again when he was in New Jersey with Connor, which they actually talked about for a couple minutes on the show. But I was wearing a mask both times. But this time I was wearing my Star Trek 20th anniversary t-shirt. And I said, Jeff, took him a second, but he finally remembered who I was. And I got a big hug, and we just chatted for a minute. Like I said, we chatted about Shuttlepod Show and how much fun he had. The Gary Graham one, I mean, I understand and I respect that, but the Gary Graham one was really good. They're all really good, especially, like I said, like they talked to Jeff about acting, like specifically the mechanics of acting and how they approach their parts, and what, how he approached Shran. And the fact, and this, I didn't know this because I haven't watched TOS in so long, but how Jeff, they recreated the Andorians a little bit, because the Andorians in TOS were much more diplomatic and chill and, part of the Federation. So for Jeffrey to get into this and be able to kind of show a different side to the Andorians, just like we got to see a different side to the Vulcans in Enterprise, he enjoyed doing that. Let's see, what does Space have to say? I've memorized 90, but I'm significantly less versed in other shows, unless it was a bit. I think I've told this story before, so I'll tell it real quick, where I swore to Anthony Montgomery at one point a couple conventions ago that I was not one of those nerds that knew all of the titles to all of the episodes. And then I ended up knowing like 3 titles while I was standing in front of them. People were asking, and I'm like, I swear to God, I don't know all of them. I just know these. He had a script to Communicator, and I'm like, well, that was a great episode when Malcolm lost the communicator on the planet. Anthony goes, I don't know what the show was about, because he hadn't opened the script. He just had it signed as something to sell on his table. And I'm thinking, dude, the title of the episode's Communicator. It sort of gives it away. Like, it's about the communicator that Malcolm lost. I mean, that was a no-brainer. But then I spat out a couple other titles while I was standing there, and he looked at me like, yeah, right, you're not that nerd. I'm not the nerd. Not that it's not a bad thing to know all the titles. Trust me, I wish I knew more. It was just funny that I said, I swear to God, I don't. And then I'm like spouting titles off left and right. I still don't know all of them. The Andorians did refer to themselves as warlike or something similar, but reframed it as passionate in contrast to logical.
Great.
Yeah,
knowledge.
and exactly. And I think Mohammed would agree that we got to see a lot of that, the things that were hinted at in TOS that actually kind of showed up in Enterprise because they could go back 100 years. is essential to understanding evolution. Absolutely. In later series and
Mhm.
cultural developments, it's hard to describe unless you've seen the Forge. Oh my God, I loved the Forge episodes. First of all, Amok Time is my favorite TOS episode. So the fact that they brought in T'Pau as a young woman, I always thought was really cool. And by the way, any 80s children that are out there, there's a song called Heart and Soul by a group called T'Pau, and that is exactly what they named themselves after. They named themselves after the Vulcan High Priestess. And I love that song. I love that song before I found it out. But love you too, Mohammed. This is why we get along so good. This is why we need you in Chicago, because I need more Enterprise love in Chicago. Just saying. But before Chicago, here's a segue for you. Before Chicago, there is Virtual TrekCon. And it's this week. And it's this week.
Yeah.
It's
Oh, I just got
Thursday.
butterflies in my stomach. Woo!
And
Exciting.
what can you tell us? Are there things that you can tell us that are happening that won't get you in trouble with the rest of the group, especially since Mohammed's here and I'm sure he's a plant. I'm sure he's monitoring this for that.
I can tell you that it starts on Thursday, goes to Monday, and there's a lot of fun stuff going on. It's pretty exciting. It's a full schedule, and
can you tell us about any of the guests? Is there any? Besides Lambda Quadrant, we're going to be there, but can you tell us?
Right. I can tell you about what I am doing.
That's good. Tell us about what you're doing.
I guess. On Saturday, I will be having a discussion with Women at Warp.
They are a most awesome group.
They are wonderful, wonderful women, and I'm looking forward to that discussion. And we will be discussing how specifically Prodigy and Lower Decks, but as a general. Oh,
Anne-Marie's here! Yes!
But
I know I was doing as good as Randy, but I had to try. Anyway, go ahead.
But how New Trek is staying true to the to I lost my train of thought.
How staying true to Trek?
True to Trek, but bringing us into the future, or into the present, I should say, and how it's evolving and how it's bringing new fans into the fold as well.
So, excellent. And I think I would love, I mean, I don't know if this fits, but that's what a lot of people were saying about love or hate the 2009 reboot movies. It's bringing new fans into the fold.
Exactly. So, and it's okay to evolve your product a bit.
Absolutely.
But while at the same time staying true to what people love so much about the franchise. So,
right. And what time on Saturday is that?
That is at noon Pacific Standard Time.
Trying to think. We've got 3.
That's 3 p.m.
That's 3 p.m. here for us East Coasters. Yes. I'm assuming this question is for you, Melissa, because I do my own makeup.
I am not getting my makeup done. Somebody else gets to do that. But later in the evening, 5 o'clock Pacific on the West Coast, I will be hosting a discussion with Nana Visitor and Terry Farrell and Nikki DeBoer and Kitty Swink about motherhood and show business and all of that entails,
that's awesome. I miss Nikki so much. I love Nicole.
Yeah, they're all wonderful women. So
not to take anything away from the rest of them, but Nikki, we were Yeah, I really wish I could have like bumped into Nikki while we were in LA together, but it didn't. The timing just didn't work out.
Yeah.
But
Yeah.
and I know
But
she's not going to be in Chicago, so and neither is Jeff. I did ask him, so just
yeah.
wait till Vegas. They do actually. You know what really kills me is that they played a Rat Pack song on Shuttlepod Show,
Mhm.
and they picked a really good one. They picked a really
Yeah.
good one. It was a piece of the What We Left Behind, which I think is
Mhm.
an original Max composition.
Yeah.
But I was like, why didn't you play the Zindi? They have a specific Enterprise one called Zindi. And they didn't
Yeah.
play that one. That one, I always love that one.
Yeah.
All right. Oh, Blue's got something about disco. One thing this season of disco is about working together. Yep. And I'd like to see folks touch on that with the Trek fandom. How can we get along better?
Mhm.
Yeah, absolutely. Absolutely. It's tough. It's tough because I think, the ideal of Trek has always been to get along. And I think especially the people that are doing the gatekeeping have forgotten that.
Yeah, I mean, it's easy as human beings. I think it's human nature to want to clamp onto the things that we love so much and not want to see that changed or altered, and
Yep.
if it is, it gets tainted. And
Yep.
um but
As-
if the change makes sense in the overall evolution of a show or anything in life,
I
anything
mean,
that,
everything has to, you either evolve or die. I mean,
well, yes, but
die,
I mean,
like not, but
yeah, I
and
mean, and I get the difference between changing something for the sake of change, which is not a good thing, or just because, now we're different and changing it, or um changing it because it makes sense within the story, within the
thank you, sir. Oh, let's see. How do we reach gatekeepers better? To be perfectly honest, you don't. Um, I think, there's a certain, the last, I think, Holocon, I think the last Holocon, uh, convention that Lambda Quadrant did, which would have been Holocon 3. See, I knew you guys were just competing with us because we already have done 3. So you guys are just playing catch up.
ooh.
Virtual TrekCon. Lambda Quadrant's already had 3 virtual events. You guys are just behind us. You just needed to catch up.
Well, I think we've had more than 3 virtual
Yeah,
events.
no, this is, yeah, I know, I'm teasing.
And this is a little bit different.
It is definitely a
But
little bit different. But we did a panel about gatekeeping, and there's a psychology behind why people are gatekeepers, and it's not like, I don't think there's any way to sit there and say, hey, listen, you guys, let's all come to a table. There's no real way, because they're so set in what they believe and they're clinging so hard. Oh, thanks, Spade. It really was. We actually had Callie knew, I don't remember if Callie's friend was a psychiatrist or a psychologist, but they were a mental health professional.
Mhm.
And they talked about the psychology behind it. And it's not something I think that a layperson can just like go out and just say, I want to talk to you. Let's sit down and try and figure this out.
Right.
It's not an easy process. And I think the only thing that, and this is just my personal opinion, I think the only thing that you can really do with the gatekeepers is let them gatekeep and let them do them. And we, as a general Star Trek community, just do us and have love and have support and accept the new and the old, and accept that people are going to that people have the right to love something or hate it. That does not change the fact that it's still all Star Trek, even if you personally don't like it.
Right.
And we just go on living our best lives within the fandom.
Mhm.
And if somebody sees that and realizes it, it's I just think it's a conclusion that they have to come to on their own, especially with social media, because it's really hard to even want to sit down and have those kinds of discussions.
Of course.
That's my take on it. Is the only way to reach them is to not engage them. Because that's the other thing about the internet is when you engage people like that and they get triggered, then it's very easy for them to shoot off those hateful, harmful, negative things. But if you don't engage them, then there's no way for their negativity to spread. Let's see. Trying to use the fandom as an example, I think, in reaching them better and apply it to my own life. I'm autistic and I want to relate to folks everywhere. Again, I am not a licensed therapist of any kind. These opinions expressed by me are definitely my own. Relating to people is difficult on any level. Not to take anything away from the extra difficulty that I understand that people with autism do have. And I know that it's a struggle. And I commend you, Blue, for wanting to improve yourself and improve how you relate to other people. But I know this from my own life, and I'm sure everybody out there are just some people that are not worth relating to, that they will suck you dry, that no matter how good of a person you are, no matter how pure your motives are in your heart and in your mind, that there are just people that are unreachable. And I know as a Star Trek community in general, fans can be so amazingly supportive. Virtual TrekCon, HoloCon, we're all out there showing, Seventh Rule podcast. And again, it's the reason why I say there's always room for more podcasts. And there's always room to love this fandom to infinity and beyond. Because that's exactly IDIC. But there are just some people that think that they know Star Trek or think that they're protecting Star Trek. And they also think, that their motives are pure for some reason. But they aren't, they aren't worth putting your effort into, because there are just so many better people out there that will show you the support that you deserve and the respect that everybody deserves.
Yeah, I mean, it's.
I know you didn't bring it down. We can absolutely. This is a safe space. I mean, this is absolutely a safe space. So You said what you said, Blue, and I wanted to respond to you with as an honest answer, because like I said, I think we've all experienced gatekeeping. And I don't want to see anybody fall prey to that sort of negativity.
Which says more about the gatekeeper than it does the person that they're directing their gatekeeping to. So if we remember that, and it's not always easy to remember that, because, we're all humans with different experiences that trigger us in different ways. So, it's
of course. I mean, but I mean, and I know, Melissa, you've had this. I know, Melissa, you've had this in your life too. You have these people that come in your life that you think, are worth it, and then they're not. And then you just have to know when.
Well, and it comes down to a point where you have to recognize when you're being used or drained people try and suck the life out of you sometimes.
Exactly. You want to hang out with, all right, wait, let me see if I can do this. You kind of want to hang out with the Jet Renos in the books and not the Tarkas.
Yeah.
That's how you want to look at it. Because that's that's how you want to do it. All right, so besides Terry and Nana and Nicole and Kitty.
Woohoo! Yay.
Wait a minute. I just realized that's an entire panel of DS9 women. Go figure.
Well, it because it was inspired by Nana has a podcast with her son.
Oh, right.
Called Sunday dinners with Nana and Django, and Sid was actually on one of their shows, and the subject of motherhood came up, and what an incredible mom Nana is, and how she structured the words that Sid had for Nana were beautiful. It was wonderful to see such reverence for the job that they did.
Now, was Django the child
She
was Django the child she was pregnant with when she did? Okay.
DS9, yeah.
Yep.
So so that's what sparked it, and there was a few things that made me curious about, because she was a working mom through the whole thing. She was a working mom when she started Deep Space Nine, and
Right.
show business is a um crazy business. It's not your typical,
Yeah.
profession. So uh and then having the stereotypes of, or the expectations, the societal expectations that are placed upon mothers, um it's, I wanted to explore how they did it, their experiences.
No,
So
absolutely.
Terry's a mom, Nicole's a mom,
Yep.
Kitty is not a mom by choice, and so I wanted to get her perspective in the business, um,
Right.
as a mother figure, because she's very maternal, but in not in the traditional sense. So,
Well, and I know, their niece, Amy Shimmerman, who I'm very good friends with
mhm.
on Facebook, how much she looks up to both Kitty and Armin as
Oh, because
her
they're
rocks. I
incredible
mean,
people.
yeah, exactly.
They're incredible
So you
people.
don't necessarily, so obviously, Kitty, I'm sure, can talk to the whole, just because there's not a biology there doesn't
Mhm.
mean that you can't be a maternal figure to
Well,
someone.
that, yeah, and it doesn't make her any less of a woman for choosing not to
Absolutely.
have children.
Absolutely.
So
Yeah. That's
I
which,
wanted to
we
look
are,
at that as well, and their experiences during Deep Space Nine, and um and how their choices have shaped their lives and their experiences with motherhood
yep.
in show business. So
Oh, no, that's going to be an amazing panel. Are there any other guests that are coming that you can tell us about?
well,
I think we all kind of assume Sirach's going to be around at least at some point, right?
here and there, yeah, he's gonna be here, here and there. Um, I believe all of the guests have been listed on the Virtual TrekCon website. So there's like, I know Garrett's gonna be there, and Connor's gonna be there. I think I saw him
Connor's
going
going
to
to be
be.
there.
I think so. I can't remember. Are you looking up the website?
Yeah, did you hear me typing?
Yeah.
I'm not gonna sit. I've always said, like, my resting research face is not like the best.
Well, and I could see the lighting on your face change. So.
Oh, yeah, but there it is, Virtual TrekCon. It's pretty obvious what it is, but
Mhm.
that's where you can go and you can find out more about the Lappy Awards.
Yes, which should be so much fun.
Oh my god, that's what
Uh,
everybody. Oh my god, hold on. I didn't. I just clicked on the Lappy Awards and I got music in my ears, so I had to close it real quick. Oh, but I am so excited. Connor's going to be there.
yeah. Does it say that on there?
I didn't look because I made the
Um,
mistake of clicking. I made the mistake of clicking on the one thing that put music in my ear, and I'm like, no, I can't do this. So, if you're lying to me, no.
I might be. But I do
Well,
know Garrett's going to be there, and
I specifically told Ryan to go talk to Ryan. I told Ryan to go. I'm like, just ask Connor on the cruise. You're going to be stuck on a boat with them. So just go.
uh,
Faith says Connor's on the list. Yay!
awesome.
Yay! Well, I cleared, and Bonnie.
Oh yeah. There's quite a few people on there.
Well, you guys just announced last week that you're extending it an extra day, so you had to figure that you
Oh
needed to make room
yeah.
for panels.
So, and then Noah AK is going to be there,
Yay!
with and I'm looking at the list right now. So Dominic and Connor are going to be there, and Jane Brooke is going to be there, Raven Dowda, and
now are these all live panels, or are some of them pre-recorded?
Some of them are pre-recorded, and some of them are panels, and some of them are part of the award show, but I can't go into detail about that. So
okay, well, obviously I will find out when the Connor Dominic thing is, because you'll find me there. You will find me at our we just finalized the times for our 3 panels today. I had Ryan messaging me, what are the panels? We need the links. So
yeah,
if you have not already liked and subscribed to the Lambda, well, obviously you have to like and subscribe to Virtual TrekCon, but all the Lambda Quadrant panels are going to be on our YouTube page, so you need to go find the Lambda Quadrant. We're doing a 3D printing panel on Thursday.
Awesome.
We're doing a Saturday is one that we are calling From Metaphor to Storyline, the representation of LGBTQ community in Star Trek, because it started, very, in TNG, in the episode The Outcast, it was all metaphorical. They never really came out and said anything about being gay or conversion or anything. And it went all the way metaphorically, all the way pretty much. I mean, yeah, DS9, even Ira in What We Left Behind, which I think Robert said he just watched last night, even Ira Stephen Bear said he didn't consider them doing really anything for the LGBTQ community. And they didn't really get actual representative storylines until Discovery came along with Stamets and Kubler. So we're going to be talking about the evolution of the support of the LGBT. And then on Sunday, Callie is going to be hosting a panel called Is Discovery Too Dark?
Interesting.
Yeah. Which, I think that, and I think that begs a lot of the questions. Like, people always accused DS9 of being too dark. People thought the 3rd season of Enterprise was too dark. But darkness exists in the universe. It can't.
Well, and that's exactly what my thought process has always been, is that, yeah, the Federation has figured out so much about humanity, and not just humanity, but because not just humans are part of the Federation, but the Federation has figured out a lot as far as evolving, to a higher way of living. But that doesn't mean all other species in the universe have followed suit.
Right, exactly.
They have different values, and the things that they hold as important are different from what the Federation may hold as important. So,
I think,
and it's learning to live within that, living together within that diversity, of culture.
Ryan isn't here, so I thought that we would get away from like the pop quizzes, but light only shines in the dark. Faith wants to know if anybody knows who actually said that quote.
Yeah, it was in Darkness of the Light, and it was the Cardassian that kidnapped Kira was going to cut her open when she was pregnant.
It's not good. Heard someone saying, I wish I remember who, Trek is not about a utopian society. It's about a... There you go.
Right.
Yeah. Yep. So we're going to have those 3 panels, and I wish I had, been smart enough to like write down when they're going to be. But again, now I'm just going to if you want to know when we're going to be on, you just have to follow us on social media, because I'll be posting about that. And you have to follow Virtual TrekCon.
And we have a lot of other wonderful groups that are participating, like Women at Warp, as I mentioned before. You're so sweet, Faith. It's very nice.
Should have known it was from a Deep Space Nine episode.
But also groups like Trek Geeks and Shuttle Pods, Sci-Fi Sisters, whoop, whoop, and the Voyager Doc, Orville Nation, and I'm reading a lot of these. But
what, you don't have this whole thing memorized?
No, I don't. Shore leave. I told you there's a lot going on.
Yeah, no, it's you know, listen, it's freaking longer than Chicago. You guys are a day longer than Chicago. No, aren't you ending on Monday? It goes through
Going
the 20.
Yeah, going to Monday. So
Yeah, you guys
Thursday
are 2
to
days
Monday.
longer than Chicago.
Yeah, and you don't have to travel, and it's free. Can I repeat that? It's free. You don't have to pay 155 smackers to get in. You don't have to pay for a plane ticket or anything. It's oh.
I let her slide on so much, you don't even know.
I know my Deep Space Nine. I know my Deep Space Nine.
More so than the guest list, obviously, but that's okay.
To what?
So more so than the guest list for your convention, but that's okay.
Well, I've spent more time with DS9 than the guest list. So
Robert wanted to know about the final schedule. Is that available on the website?
Not yet. It's still being tweaked. So,
which is why which is why Ryan was after me today for stuff. So
it's still being tweaked. So,
yeah. But it'll be, I mean, just follow Virtual TrekCon all over the socials.
Yeah.
Just mark the
and
website.
If you haven't subscribed to their YouTube channel yet, subscribe because it's free and that's the best way to get updates. And if you hit the notification things, then you're golden because then it just pops up on your phone and you don't have to remember stuff. So
exactly, YouTube will bother you. Aww.
Yeah.
Johnny says you're awesome.
Aw, thanks.
Let's see. Lasso, Melissa's such a great guest. She's always bubbling. Aww. Thanks,
you.
Lasso. Yeah, that's so sweet. Considering the fact Lasso isn't even a Trekkie, he's just here because he's an awesome friend and supporting me. He's my comic book guru. So
nice.
So you've won him over being bubbly and talking about Star Trek. That's pretty impressive.
Woo! Wow.
We talk. Don't forget, you should like and subscribe to Magic Lasso too. I mean, I could give you an entire list of YouTube channels that you all need to go like and subscribe outside of this one.
Outside of this one.
Yeah, we've all been there.
Yeah.
Outside of this one, you've got Virtual TrekCon to subscribe to. You've got the 7th Rule to subscribe to.
Yeah.
Gotta do the 7th Rule. You've got Lambda Quadrant, because if you want to see our panels that are going on for the Virtual TrekCon.
Absolutely. So many too.
Oh, yes.
And Dr. Muhammad Noor, the bio Trekkie.
Yes, absolutely. Fu is his friend who he's calling a furry actually is Comic Fu, and he does have a YouTube channel. I've never read anything comic-wise other than Archie and Jughead in the 80s. Where do I begin? Blue, you two are going to need to go have a separate conversation. Lasso is on... I know Lasso has social, but I follow him personally, so I can't remember. But yeah, definitely, you and Lasso would love to talk to you about Marvel versus DC, and he would probably tell you to start with Wonder Woman, hence why he calls himself Magic Lasso.
I love Wonder Woman, but I've never read the comics. But I do love Wonder Woman.
Comics are amazing. There's a crossover comic with Wonder Woman and the Bionic Woman. There's a crossover comic with Wonder Woman and Batman 66. There's like fun one-offs. But God forbid you start reading Wonder Woman comics, because that's just a rabbit hole, because there's just no end. But yeah, I mean, I know, like I said, I have a decent enough comic background. It's just, comics are amazing. I love comic books so much, but it's hard to say like where to start, because there's just so many different ideations of everything.
Yeah. Yeah,
But
I haven't dived into that realm. Again,
there's
there's
a whole
so much going on.
I know. No, you don't need anything on your plate. Please do not start. Don't even walk into a comic shop and like think you can just pick up a comic and just go.
Yeah, I
mean, comics have been around for so long. They have a Bronze Age, a Gold Age, and a Silver Age of comics.
Whoa.
And they've rebooted stories so many times. It's like they reboot a story, you start reading it, and then they decide they're going to reboot it again. Or you're going to get hooked on a story. Yeah,
It's like all of the Spider-Mans.
Yeah, exactly.
Or Batmans. Or
and Lasso's right, there are Star Trek comic books. But again, there's just so many different. I mean, Lasso, is it still sitting here? Wait, or did I move it? Oh, no, it's still sitting here. Lasso actually found this at a comic book convention for me.
Nice.
It's Star Trek the motion picture in comic book form, and this is just the first. It's a series of comic books.
That's so cool.
Yeah, Marvel has done both runs of both Star Trek and Star Wars, and then they move on to other publishers. There's the one that I really want to read. I want to read the Mirror Universe TNG. TNG has a whole series in the Mirror Universe.
Cool.
Yeah, because their show never did it. So somebody wrote the comic. And honestly, when Q first started talking about altered realities, I thought, oh, are they actually going to take like the comic book idea? They didn't.
Yeah, but it's alternate reality, not the mirror universe. We are in the prime timeline. It's
exactly.
Just altered.
But for a minute, the way he was talking about Picard is the way Picard is in the mirror universe. So for a millisecond, I'm like, oh, but then they didn't talk about the Terran Empire. They called it the Confederation or whatever. So I'm like, oh, damn, if it's not the Terran Empire.
Yeah.
If it's not the Terran. Nope, they tricked you there. Like
I
said.
Which makes me wonder if something went wrong with the Bell riots. If or not, because they needed the riots to happen.
Right. Well, it's the same way like Edith Keeler needed to die. I mean, there are just certain things that are fixed, as the Doctor would say, are fixed points. Doctor Who, not Star Trek. Doctor Who would say there are fixed points in history.
There are fixed points that have to happen,
like Pompeii.
No matter how heartbreaking they are.
Yeah, like Pompeii, which was a really good episode. I'm not a big Donna Noble fan, but the Pompeii episode of Doctor Who was really good.
I know, we talked about this. I do like Donna.
As long as you don't like Martha. Liking Martha, is just tough.
I still like Martha, too. You can wrinkle your nose at me all you want.
You know what? I'm going to start talking about human centipedes again, and then you're going to start really wrinkling your nose like you did the last time you were on the show.
Ew.
Exactly.
Well, and then the picture gets in my head, and I'm just like, ugh.
Donna, I mean, Donna grew on me. There are still certain episodes that I don't like Midnight. I will never like the Midnight episode. It's so annoying. The one on the train where they're at the spa, and he's taking that little train across the no man's land, and there's the alien that starts repeating things.
I don't remember that one.
The kid from Merlin, the actor who played Merlin in the new reboot of Merlin, was in it.
I like that show too.
I like that show. Anthony Head. I love Anthony Head, because remember he played Arthur's dad.
Yeah. Buffy. Giles.
Giles from Buffy.
And Buffy. Yeah, but the guy who played Arthur.
Yeah.
Hubba.
Oh my god, yeah. And Kate McGrath, who played Morgana. And then moved on to Supergirl. I love her. I love her. I see. This is one of the things I like to think I'm famous for, is pulling everything back around to Star Trek when you start to get off track. Anthony Head, Giles. Giles is the one that staked Dominic Keating's vampire in the episode Helpless. Dominic was in
yes, I remember, because I did a Buffy rewatch. I don't remember how long ago, but I was like, oh my gosh, that's Dominic, and he's a vampire, and he just got wasted by Giles.
And Giles wasted him because Buffy didn't have her power. I didn't know he was in that. He actually had, when I met him in New Jersey the first time, he had an 8x10 of him vamped out. And I was like, wait, you were in Buffy? And he's like, yeah, that episode where she lost her powers, blah, blah, blah. And then I went and I looked it up. I looked him up on IMDb and I found it. And then I went and watched it.
Yeah.
I'm like, oh, dude, and I love Anthony Head. I'm like, dude, you got staked by Giles.
You got staked by Giles. That's pretty.
Yeah, because usually everybody gets staked by Buffy. Yeah. I have to say thank you. Oh, well, you are so welcome, Blue. You, like I said, you always have a safe space here. All right, Lasso, go jump in your invisible jet and bounce.
Yeah.
And if you're free this weekend, I will tune you in and let you know what panels you should go watch.
All of them.
Besides all of them. I've been he's watched maybe, I think, like 3 episodes of Star Trek across his lifetime or something. It's very, very small.
Yeah. Well, but you should still check out the Lappy Awards, because that'll be fun, because it's the first time ever. The first time ever.
That's right. It's the very first Lappy Awards, and then the Lappy Awards will give you an idea of like the best of, and then you'll find out, like, those might give you an idea of what episodes you might want to sit down and watch if there's something that people think are the best. Because I have to tell you, and I actually mentioned this yesterday to somebody. And that's also true. It's never too late.
Never too late.
When I was waiting to say hi to Jeff yesterday, he's obviously at Monster Mania because of Dr. Herbert West, who was the character that he played in Reanimator 1, 2, and 3. And I had no idea about Reanimator until the Chiller Channel ran every Halloween. They have a bunch of shows like the top 13 this, the top 13 that. And they had one, it was like the top 13 grossest scenes in all of horror movies. And one of the scenes from Reanimator made it into their list. And I watched it.
Pretty gross scenes.
It was gross. And I watched it and I went, I need to see this movie now. And that is how I got introduced to Reanimator. So Lasso should at least come to the Lappies, because then he'll see what people think are like the tops. And then maybe I can help him pick some episodes to watch.
Reanimator is a cult classic.
Did you see it?
I have seen it, and there's some really gross stuff in it.
The gross, not that this should surprise you, but the scene that Chiller showed was the one with the decapitated head and the girl on the morgue table, and the decapitated head coming at her.
Oh, okay. Yeah, there was a whole lot of blood in that section of movie.
Oh, no, she was naked. Remember the girlfriend was naked on the table, and the doctor, the beheaded doctor, had his body was holding the head, and he was going like that, like he was coming towards her.
Yeah.
To do something that we all were like completely grossed out by. I don't want to even like. She was just she was naked on a table, and a decapitated head was going near her, and that's all I'm going to say. And I like any movie that does something like that, I need to see. And I watched it, and to be honest, the first time I watched it, I don't think I even really knew who Jeff Combs was. And then I found out, and then somebody's like, oh yeah, Jeff Combs, Reanimator. And then I went back and rewatched it, and I'm like, oh, that is him. It's the guy from Star Trek. And he's so good in this.
Yeah. He pretty
really
great.
It's a great movie. Yeah, but
I was surprised to see him, because I'm a Beauty and the Beast fan from the 80s. So he was in an episode of that too.
He was in, oh my God. He was in that episode. I started a rewatch of Beauty and the Beast. When Paramount Plus was still, what was it called? CBS All Access.
Mm-hmm.
They had, I don't know if they still do because I haven't looked, but they had Beauty and the Beast.
Yeah, so they still do.
Okay. So I started a rewatch of Beauty and the Beast, and Eric Pierpoint was in an episode, and then Jeff Combs was in an episode. I mean, I was waiting for Armin to show up. I remembered Armin. That's where I first found out about Armin.
Yeah.
So I was waiting for Armin to show up, but before Armin shows up, the Jeff Combs episode, that whole thing where he was blind, oh my God.
Yeah.
It was such a good episode.
Yeah. I know. And then the guy that was trying to help him. Yeah, he was in Beauty and the Beast. He was
First season. Yeah,
First
the one where he lived
season.
in the yeah. All right. So I am a huge Beauty and the Beast fan,
Oh,
as
really?
obviously as Melissa
Yeah.
is. Yes, it was the story of an entire group, and then there's an entire community that lives in the sewers. And
Mhm.
this lawyer, played by Linda Hamilton of Terminator fame,
Mhm.
gets mistakenly kidnapped. They think she's somebody else. They cut up her face. They throw her out of the truck, and Vincent found her. Paramount Plus.
Yeah.
Paramount Plus
Paramount
has it.
Plus. Mhm.
And they throw her out,
Vincent,
and
played by Ron Perlman.
who was also going to be in Vegas because he was in an episode of
Yes.
Voyager, I think. And it was just so beautiful. And then they ended up being psychically linked, and it was amazing. But but that's the first point. Armin Shimmerman was basically like the operator of the entire tunnel system, because people talked through the pipes, and he was in charge of disseminating information. So that's the first time I ever saw Armin Shimmerman, and the first time he opened his mouth as Quark, I'm like, oh my God, that's Pascal from Beauty and the Beast.
Yes, same. Pascal. It's Pascal
from Beauty and the Beast. So I am like, I have to rewatch this. I have to go see Armin again. And the first thing I ever saw him in, and I love Ron Perlman, and I love his voice, and I love listening to him do the poetry thing. And the music was amazing.
It's so beautiful. Yeah, that's one of the things that I love so much, is when they read together, and all of the poetry and the Shakespeare and the classical music and all things that I love so much.
I know. I wish I would have thought of this yesterday to talk to Jeff about it, because I haven't talked to him about it yet. But yeah, he was in this. He was in one of the first season episodes. Eric Pierpoint was in an episode. But I've met Ron Perlman a couple years ago. He did a Jersey convention. And do you have the spoken word album that he did?
No.
There is an actual CD out, and it's all the music from the show and Ron Perlman reading poetry over it. So I told him this story. A couple of the poems were Shakespearean sonnets. And at the time, I was in college, and I was taking a Shakespeare class. And one of our assignments was, you have to memorize a Shakespearean sonnet. Well, I listened to that soundtrack so much that I'd already memorized the 29th sonnet. I didn't, like everybody else is like, sonnet 29, I got this, thank you. And I actually told Ron Perlman that story, that he helped me pass my Shakespeare class, because thanks to that soundtrack and listening to him over and over, I didn't have to really work at it. I just had already had it pretty much memorized by the time.
I don't remember the numbers, but
that one I remember, because I had to know it.
Yeah, but I took a Shakespeare acting class.
Oh wow!
And it was for voice and speech, really, but Shakespeare is good for diction and all that stuff, and we did Romeo and Juliet and all that stuff, and we had to take.
There's a precision to Shakespeare.
And then and then so we have to learn the actual Shakespeare. So but we had to pick a sonnet as well to perform. So and it was the one that starts out with "When in disgrace with fortune."
That's sonnet. That's 29th sonnet. When in disgrace with fortune in men's eyes, I all alone beweep my outcast state. And trouble doth heaven with my bootless cries, and look upon myself and curse my fate.
Yeah, I don't remember the number.
But that's so funny, because that's my favorite one, and that's the 29th.
I love that one. Yeah,
it's a great one. Yeah, and then and myself almost despising. Wait. And then in these thoughts, myself almost despising, happily I think on me. And then my state, state,
like the lark,
break of day,
at the break of day,
arising from sullen earth, sings hymns at heaven's gate. For thy sweet love remembered such wealth brings, that then I scorn to
change my state with kings. Yeah.
Yep. What's really funny is, how Sir Pat in the middle of the pandemic was doing like a sonnet a day. On YouTube. Turns out Ron Perlman did the 29th sonnet, and he's like, you have to find it's on YouTube. And he's like, it's so great, because he's like, well, this is for Sir Patrick Stewart. The 29th sonnet as read by Vincent of the Tunnels, and he changed his voice right back into Vincent and recited the whole thing.
Oh, his voice in that is so beautiful. The
Yeah,
way
you
he
know,
reads. Oh, so good.
Dominic was also in Sons of Anarchy.
Oh, really?
Just to bring it back, yeah. He was. I haven't watched all of them, but yeah, he was in a couple episodes of Sons of Anarchy. They were in Ireland. They were in Ireland visiting their sibling biker gang in Ireland, and he was there for a couple episodes.
Interesting.
Yeah, but no, I love. But Amy Shimmerman. One of the first times I remember, you know, I had followed her. We were following each other for a little bit, and I had posted when I found Beauty and the Beast how excited I was to be rewatching it. And her reply was, "Oh yeah, I grew up in those tunnels." She spent her childhood hanging out on the sets and growing up in those tunnels. So before she had her Star Trek family, she actually had her Beauty and the Beast family.
Yeah.
Which I thought was so freaking cool. I'm like, I would have killed to be on those sets. You have to figure those sets were probably amazing.
Beautiful, probably. Yeah.
Yeah, absolutely.
I'm always blown away by sets and on sound stages and stuff because the detail and the work that goes into building those sets, like on Enterprise or Deep Space Nine, is incredible.
Yep. Another place you can find a lot of really cool Star Trek people is on Night Court, but I don't know if Night Court is available anywhere. Like I don't know if you can like stream it. There's a Laugh channel that it plays like 4 episodes every morning, so I usually try and tune in before I get my day started. But I mean, besides the fact John Larroquette, who was in Wrath of Khan, I'm sorry, I always do that. He wasn't in Wrath of Khan. He was in Star Trek 3. He was in Search for Spock. He was one of the Klingons on the bridge. I always do that. But no, Nana was in an episode.
Amazing in that episode.
Oh, she was so good. Yeah, I tweeted at her about it, and she actually replied. I was like, "Yeah, Nana."
She's so good in that.
She was amazing in that. Max Grodenchek as Michael Grodenchek was in an episode. He was really funny. They either have Robin Curtis was in a really good episode. So they either have Star Trek people or they're making Star Trek references. So,
well,
hey, no worries, Jean. Always good to have you back. Thank you so much for popping in at the very end, but still you're here. Jean, thank you so much for joining us. Good to have you back. But yeah, so big week this week, starting on the 17th. So
St. Pat.
So put on your green Star Trek attire because it does exist. And it is Sir Pat's Day.
Yeah.
So
I don't have green Star Trek attire, but
I don't like green.
Okay.
I don't like
I like green, but
I don't like green, so I don't wear green. So but I do respect, you know, St. Patrick's Day, and so we're gonna all have a glass of green beer and watch virtual TrekCon.
All right. Yeah.
Now, I can tell you our 3D panel's kind of late. Our 3D panel is at 8:15 Pacific, 11:15 Eastern. So, but there's always the rewatch.
There is always a rewatch.
There's always a rewatch,
and you can rewatch it as many times as you like.
That's right. But all 3 of our panels are going to be live, which means that if you are awake and you want to interact and ask questions, I think it's going to be like an intermediate 3D panel, like kind of like the do's and don'ts of 3D printing and how to avoid some of the pitfalls. And maybe you might even get a preview of some of the merch that we're going to have.
Awesome.
Which is going to be showing up in Chicago, and then showing up in Vegas. But I will tell you this, I think we have a couple leftover Rainbow Police boxes. So if you're going to be at Chicago and you're a Doctor Who fan, we might have 1 or 2 Rainbow Police boxes with us.
Those were pretty rockin'. Yeah.
I could do green fingernails. You're absolutely right, but I don't like green. Which really sucks because Peridot is my birthstone, and that's green. But
what's it called?
Peridot. Peridot, Perdot. It's August. The August birthstone. Yeah. I could do green fingernails, but I won't because I just don't. Green's just not my color. But so we're doing that 3D panel that hopefully, like I said, we're going to be previewing some merch. Let's see what else we got going on. And then, like I said, and then Saturday and Sunday are our next 2. So the Lambda Quadrant's going to be free all day on Friday to hang out and watch all the other stuff.
Yay! Woohoo!
I do like money, but guess what? It all sits in my bank, so I don't have to look at it. See, it's the beauty. It's the beauty of the debit card. You don't have to look at the money.
It's all digital now. There's no color in digital.
It's all digital. Although you have to admit, you know, like you lived in England, the money is much more colorful over there.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, it is.
It is.
And it's got interesting texture as far as
yep, and it's
pounds
bigger
and pence and all of that stuff. The coinage is interesting.
Yeah, this somebody else wanted to know the answer to this. Are you guys doing any sort of Zoom hangout like the promenade you guys had the last time?
Not the same way, only because the Lappy Awards are taking up a lot of space throughout the
right
week, so
yeah. Well, yep. So again, just go onto their website, follow them on social, and you will get all the information that you could possibly need. Until next week, guys, we have an hour and 25 minutes. Let's see. Canada's own money's almost made out of polymer. Yeah, but until you see us, me, I don't know, maybe somebody will be with me next week. I don't know. Still working on getting some what's the word? Guests. Still working on getting some guests. Maybe one of these days Mohammed will take, drink a Red Bull and he'll stay up late enough to do a whole show with me.
Yeah, but next week he'll be involved with the virtual TrekCon. So
that's right. Yeah, you guys are going through Monday. I'm going to be next week. Yeah. It's going to be I'll be the after party. What time are you guys ending? Do you know on Monday? Like when your last panel is?
I don't remember.
I'll have to look. Well, we'll have to see when the schedule comes out then. But until then, support the show, like and subscribe. Yay. Or if you can, head over to Patreon. Give a little subscribe. I will get you into my very special Facebook.
Sorry.
Oh, is domestic here? No. Yeah. I switched views. I didn't see domestic.
Yeah.
Hello. Hello. Oh, Blue, anytime. Live long and prosper, my dear. But like I said, if you can, give a little support on Patreon, or even better, you can check out some of my very cool merchandise in my Teespring store, which also helps support the podcast. Helps get me to Vegas so that I can ask those favorite Star Trek celebrities of yours questions, which is one of my things. Or maybe I'll sit down with Melissa if you've got questions for Melissa in Vegas. I'll sit down and do an interview with Melissa. Never know. It could always happen. Melissa, thank you so much for joining me.
Absolutely.
So appreciate it. You are welcome here anytime. Everybody, like I said, like and subscribe. Go like and subscribe Virtual TrekCon. Hopefully, I will be probably popping in and out of events as the podcast. So look for me in any of the live YouTube chats because that is where I will be this coming week. And until I see you all next week, live long and prosper.
Hey, this is Connor Turner. You've been listening to the NX7062 podcast with Stephanie. Enjoy your evening.